Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Mathias. I am the Housing Program Officer here at LISC New York, and it is my pleasure to be here with you all for the information session for the RFP put out for 1175 Boston Road in the Bronx, specifically for New Covenant Faith and Miracle Arena. I don't know if Archbishop Joseph Alexander is present, but please, if you are, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself. It'd be great for us to kind of put a name to the or a face to the name. I don't see him, but he might be joining us later. I'll get us started. LISC New York works together with residents and partners to forge resilient and inclusive communities of opportunity across America. Great places to live, work, and visit, do business, and raise families. We are a national nonprofit community development financial institution that equips underinvested communities with capital, strategy, and technical know-how to become places where low and moderate income LMI people can thrive. Our flagship office in New York City was created in 1980, but over the past 40 years, LISC has also supported local partners throughout the nation through programs aimed to create more equitable and inclusive and sustainable cities throughout the nation. We believe that the time has come to forge a future for New York City that eradicates the racial wealth gap for good and also protects affordable housing for LMI New Yorkers and build pathways of meaningful economic opportunity for all. Unfortunately, Monica isn't able to join us today, but she sends her kind regards and her welcome as well. She is the Director of Housing here at LISC New York, as well as the Director of the New York Land Opportunity Program here as well. I now want to pass it over to Jimmy Miller, who is the founder of Sincere Consulting. He leads a small powerhouse firm that provides holistic strategic planning and development consulting. He served in a myriad of leadership positions, including Deputy Assistant Secretary to the Governor of New York, the Deputy General Manager for NYCHA, and the President of the New York Housing Trust Fund Corporation. He has led the development of more than 11,000 housing units at the cost of almost $2.5 billion. So without further ado, I present Jimmy Miller. And if you do have any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon. Yes, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I have to always check my watch with the, no, we're not on daylight saving times anymore, but I'm going to go through the PowerPoint quickly so that we can leave times for questions again. And as Matthew said, we will take questions at the end. And as you can see from the timeline that we will present to you shortly, there's also a window of opportunity for you to submit written questions to LISC that we will respond to in writing. Again, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the New York Land Opportunity Program. This will be our third cohort coming up. We have a cohort that is currently ongoing that includes 3 faith-based organizations. And so this year, we are going to issue this RFEI to expand the program even further. Again, I think we can go to the next slide, Matthew. Again, the purpose of this RFP is to select up to, in this case, I'm sorry, Matthew, go back again. I'm sorry, I got this confused with another R. Go back again. Go back to the beginning. Okay, let me start over again. This is not the RFEI. This is the request for proposals from potential co-developers to help the New Covenant Faith and Miracle Arena with developing a property that it owns at 1175 Boston Road. Now, we did issue an RFEI last year, and we did get responses, and we did select 3 faith-based organizations to participate in this cohort. And the New Covenant is one of the 3 faith-based organizations that we have selected. So the goal here is for us to develop a concept plan in conjunction with that group, and that task has been completed. And we'll be sharing the main parameters of that concept plan with you shortly. Once the concept plan has been developed, the next step would be LISC, in conjunction with the faith-based organizations, to issue an RFP to find a co-developer that could assist the faith-based organization with bringing their projects to fruition. And that is now where we are in the process of working with New Covenant. So again, the project is located at 1175 Boston Road, and it has 83,838 square feet of development rights remaining. And the concept plan that we have developed, that's only the beginning of the planning and design process, calls for developing 92 residential units and about 17,000 square feet of ancillary community space. And again, that is the minimum number of units that we would like to develop. And as the RFP says, that it is our hope that if the entity is permitted to transfer development rights back to 1175, that we'll be able to increase the number of units. It is the objective of New Covenant to increase the number of units beyond 92. So we should keep that in mind. Next slide, please, Matthew. The scope of work for the co-developer is outlined in detail in the RFP. I'll just go through some of the main highlights here. Again, we would like for the co-developer to assist New Covenant with defining the concept plan that we have developed in conjunction with the architect and New Covenant. Oversee and implement the redevelopment efforts, which means hiring and managing all of the team members necessary for the planning and design, construction, and lease up of this property. Provide pre-development funding. We're looking for the co-developer to provide 100% of the pre-development funds necessary to get this project to a successful closing. We're looking for the co-developer to develop and maintain a detailed development schedule and critical path schedule. We're looking for the co-developer to make sure that LISC, MBE, WB, and BIPOC goals and objectives are met. As Matthew said very early on, these ideas and these objectives are very important to LISC New York. We're looking for the co-developer to prepare a feasibility assessment and a market analysis and appraisals to ensure that this project is indeed feasible both in the short run as well as long term. Next slide, Matthew. Provide all the guarantees, necessary guarantees for completion, operation, compliance, obtain the equity and investment needed for the development. It is assumed that the low-income housing tax credits may be a part of the financing. Again, looking for the developer to hire the general contractor and the construction manager to oversee the construction of the project. Looking for the co-developer also to work with us and the organization to develop the most appropriate ownership structure. Next slide, Matthew. Here's a schedule that we just talked about earlier. The non-mandatory efficient session is to February 7th. That would be now. just to make sure I'm in the right place. Again, we said we'll take questions at the end of this session, but there'll also be a chance for you to submit your questions in writing to us no later than Monday, February the 13th at 3 p.m. And again, we won't respond to any questions that are submitted after that deadline. If there are questions that we need to respond to, we will publish an addendum with the responses to those questions on Monday, February the 20th. And last date here of major consequence is your responses to the RFP are due no later than 3 p.m. local time, Monday, February the 27th. And again, we will not respond to RFPs that are received after the deadline. And we'll leave this up just a few moments so you can digest these time lines. Okay, Matthew, we can move on, please. Thank you. The responses to the RFP will be developed in accordance with the evaluation criteria that you see here. Obviously, your experience and your team's experience, key staff experience, the key business terms, your methodology for bringing this project to fruition, your financial capabilities and references, and again, your ability to assure compliance with our MBE, WB, and BIPOC employment and contracting goals. Next slide. Wow, that was quick. I did not mean to go through that quickly. So I'm sure there are dozens of questions that you have that we would love to respond to, and we can start that process now. And again, we may not be able to answer and respond to all of your questions, and those that you do ask us today will be reiterated when we respond to the questions later on in the process. And you'll also, as I said a few seconds ago, you will have the opportunity to submit further questions in writing if you choose to do so. So now we'll open it up for questions.
If you do have a question, you can either raise your hand or you can put it in the chat. I'll be looking at both. So whenever you're ready. Yeah, Octavia Porter.
Can you please just double back to the previous slide,
Mhm.
if possible? Thank you.
Yeah, that's evaluation criteria. So just the co-developer and team experience, key staff experience, key business terms, methodology, financial capacity and references, and then MWBE employment and contracting plan.
I do have a question. Is there a minimum experience that you prefer the developer to have? Such as maybe
I think that is a good question. I believe there's a in the RFP here. There is, let me see if I can find it quickly. There is a section on minimum requirements. Let me see if I can find that real quickly. I don't want to mistake it. Okay, the minimum requirements. That, and by the way, Terry, I'm glad you asked. In the RFP, there's a section called minimum requirements for co-developer. You must have at least 5 years of experience developing affordable housing of a comparable size and scope. You must have developed and completed within the last 5 years at least 2 projects of a comparable size and scope to the project outlined in the RFP. Must have experience, obviously, of getting financing. Now, those are minimum requirements, but I know LISC has other goals and objectives. So if you read the RFP very carefully, it says very clearly that LISC has the what's the word? The right to waive any of these requirements. So if you don't meet these minimum requirements, you may, if it's not too overwhelming, you might still want to undertake these requirements. Or Matthew, we might be able to have a conversation with the Ms. Dean regarding minimum requirements, because I do know we have another program that is designed for developers of color, and I'm not sure they would all meet this minimum requirement. So that is a good question. That is something we will look into, and we will see if, what that leads to. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for raising the question.
that's a great question. We have another question from Michael Bevivino. Do we know what development rights are left from 1191 that are available to transfer back?
Wow, they're on their top of their game today. Go back to the slide that talks about the development rights.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, one up.
This one good or one more?
No, one more. Right there.
Mm.
I think I got to move your picture. In the way, I got to move it, Matthew. If you don't mind, you won't feel it.
All
So,
good.
49,000 square feet were transferred from here to there. So, I'm not sure what portion of the 49,616 transferred from here to the other site. So the question is, how much of that 49,616 are remaining? That I do not know, but that we will respond to, because we do want to see if we can transfer some of those rights back to 1175. But 49,616 were transferred out.
Do you have any more questions?
Let me, while we're waiting on questions, let me just reiterate some of the things here. This concept plan that we have set forth here is an as a right concept plan. It does not call for any changes to the zoning. It assume that we are limiting any housing for the elderly below 20%, so it does not trigger those requirements. There is a breakdown of what the 17,335 square feet of community space is for, between the sanctuary and church space, the credit union, early childhood education, right? And this is an existing site that does have services in it, and that it would require finding alternative spaces for those services and demolishing the property and replacing it with this new revitalized development. I see a hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I actually have a list of questions.
Oh, list. Oh, okay. Go.
I can either ask them, or I can ask one at a time and wait to see if others have questions. I don't want to sort of take over too much time. So the first question is to sort of build off of what you just mentioned, which is a site is currently being used for at least 4 different purposes. The question is essentially 2 parts. During the construction process, who is responsible to sort of find temporary placement for those tenants while construction is ongoing? And then the second part of that question is, are those tenants expected to pay rent for the community facility space that they would be reoccupying? Or is it expected that those spaces would be given to them sort of for free?
Okay, I wish we had a New Covenant here today, so I think I can answer half of that question accurately, which I try to do, so we don't have miscommunications. Typically, the developer would assist the church with identifying and locating appropriate spaces for these services, but that would be something that would be done in conjunction with the church. You know, we can ascertain again before the questions, before I think the 20th, right? We're supposed to respond to the questions. We will ascertain from the church if they have any alternative spaces yet. They may have, and if not, obviously, it will be essential that we together locate alternative space, and then we can ask the church a secondary question as to whether or not we need to find space for all of these services, or if we need to find space for some of them, and some of them could be put in advance until the new building is constructed. So we will clarify, one, if they've identified any alternative spaces, and two, if some of these services are more critical than the other. And then the second question we cannot respond to until I speak to New Covenant as to whether or not these other ancillary services will be paying what's the word, a fee. When I ran the preliminary performance, I did not include a fee for these components, but we will verify that as well. Yeah, other questions you said?
Thank you. I was wondering if there is somewhere that where we can download the full suite of documents that are needed to be completed. So for example, the RFP response calls for several documents that were included as exhibits to the RFP, but they're not exactly fillable or usable really. So I was wondering if there's somewhere that we can go and download all of those.
We're probably talking about the residential experience worksheets and those sheets, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, Matthew, that is something that you and I can discuss. If we can make those forms more user-friendly, so you don't have to, you know, do your own spreadsheet or write them in or type them in. It'll make them much more palatable. We can figure out how they could be fillable. So I will work with Matthew and his IT people, see if we can make those forms more user-friendly. That's another good point. Thank you.
So I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but once you log on to like the website, the New York Land Opportunity landing page, you just scroll down, and this is the RFP for New Covenant, but I know you can apply here, which will take you to where you should apply, where you'll be uploading these documents. But if you click on co-developer RFP, that should open up a PDF for you to look at just the package in its raw form. So that'll allow you to go all the way at the bottom and take the attachments and the supplements that are necessary and needed and upload them from there. So you would have to download the package first, look through all that, read it completely, and then attach the required supplements.
Yeah, but that's sort of exactly my point, in that these attachments are not very user friendly. If you look at the work, the development experience exhibit, it's a very small table and it's a PDF. It's not exactly fillable.
So we understand what you mean. So Matthew, I understand what she's asking us to do. We would need to put that in PDF fillable form, an Excel form. I've done that in other RFPs where it could actually be typed into. Otherwise, you'd have to type the table. You'd have to create the table all over again yourself. So what she's asking us is to make that a fillable spreadsheet, which means it has to be in an Excel format, some other format. So you and I can discuss that later, but that should be doable.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. My other question is, I notice the RFP calls for 48 below grade parking spaces. Do you have a sense of whether those spaces are to be provided rent-free again, or should we assume any type of rent on those spaces? Or what is the use, and how do we anticipate paying for the spaces? Because below grade parking is particularly expensive.
Again, I ran preliminary performance, and they do not include a payment for those spaces. And yes, below grade parking is very expensive. So we will again have a conversation with the church, and we will respond to the questions about the fees for the parking, if there will be any. And we'll respond to your earlier question about whether or not there'll be a cost levy for the other ancillary community spaces.
Thank you. And just maybe a couple more. One is, I noticed you showed the evaluation criteria. I was wondering if you, as a team, have determined the number of points that will be allocated per evaluation criteria, just so that we get a sense of sort of which criteria carries the most weight.
So that's another good question. We've had internal discussions with LISC and as well as our legal consultant, and then points will not be allocated for the separate criterion. So we, LISC in conjunction with the church, will evaluate the responses, and it will use its what's the word? You will find those responses that it deems are the best fit for this particular undertaking. But there'll be no 20 points for that one and 10 points for that one, as you typically maybe used to see.
Great, thank you. And my last is just a comment. As I was going through the online form to fill out and submit, page 5 has the wrong development plan. I think it has a development plan for an RFP, for another RFP that calls for 17 units and 27 units. It's not the downloadable PDF, but it's the online form that you click on next. So if you click on next and I think go to page 5, the tables there are not the correct tables.
Right, Matthew, that's something we need to correct.
Yeah, that'll be corrected. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. And again, we will respond to all of your inquiries that you raised today.
Do you guys have any more questions or comments? Oh, we do. John Napolitano. Hello, and thank you to the information session. I have 2 questions. Is the school construction authority expected to be involved in the fit out of the Early Childhood Development Center? If not, has an alternative third party or operator been identified, or would it be the responsibility of the co-developer to identify that party?
Ooh,
No.
There's no way I have capacity to answer that one today. That we will have to respond to that one in our response.
And then question number 2 is there preferred unit distribution within the potential 92 unit yield this site can render?
Yes, we have a preferred distribution. That's not in the RFP RFP. Hold on, let me check. Thought that was in there. All right. There is it says height factor option. It says 19 studio apartments, 67 one-bedroom apartments, 6 two-bedroom apartments for a total of 92 units. And that is in the RFP.
All right, and then we have another question by Jeffrey. Will you be providing a zoning analysis for use with our response?
I believe that the attachment, which is the concept plan, I believe it includes a zoning analysis and the maximum what's the word, FAR. That is in the concept plan. That is an attachment to the RFP.
All right, are there any other questions? Oh, yes. Ariel Garcia is asking, is it the expectation that the church will be the owner and operator of the community facility condo unit?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah.
A lot of words.
Is it the expectation that the church will be the owner and the operator of the community facility condo unit?
Yes.
All right. And of course, as Jimmy mentioned, you can also submit your questions at NYLOP at LISC.org, and we'll be able to answer them there as well if no questions are coming up right now. Yeah, Arshad.
Sorry, me again.
That's good.
So given that it seems like the community facility space and parking wasn't contemplating as either rent generated, or we're not exactly sure how we will be paying for those spaces. Is it okay for me to just sort of be flexible in the financing of those spaces in our response to the RFP? Sounds like
Let me interrupt
present
you.
something to
Let me
you.
interrupt you here. I said that we're gonna speak to the church, and then we're gonna clarify. We're gonna get their objective as to what they want to accomplish with regard to charging for those community space and the parking. So we're gonna get that back to you. And again, we were supposed to respond to all these questions by the 13th. So we will clarify that for you before it's time for you to respond to the RFP.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Any more? All right, doesn't look like there's any more in the chat. Like I said, please feel free to send us your questions at NYLOP at LISC.org, and we'll be sure to respond to them. But yeah, thank you guys all for coming today to the information session. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.